Hi, and welcome back to Tech Days Online. So this session we're going to talk about mobile DevOps with Visual Studio. Just some quick introductions. So my name's Giles Davis. I'm a developer tools technical specialist. I cover the Visual Studio tools based in the UK, and I'm also joined by Richard Irwin.
So Richard Irwin, I'm a mobile DevOps specialist. Xamarin Microsoft, or I suppose that really should be just Microsoft these days.
I guess so, yeah, absolutely. So I think you've probably seen these before, but if you're interested in the MVP award, then there's links to get this. All right, have a look at those. So if the rest of the day, which I hope you've been enjoying, I think it's primarily been MVPs. We're not. But if you're interested in sort of becoming an MVP, then have a look at that program.
MVP.microsoft.com for that.
That's the chap. So we're going to talk about mobile DevOps with Visual Studio. And I thought the way we'd divide this is I want to talk about really the generic, how do we support DevOps, and I'll sort of take us through that for the first part. And then we're going to hand over to Richard, and he's going to take us through specifically supporting mobile. So that's the kind of flow that I thought we'd take. Where I wanted to start was that there are many definitions of DevOps out there. Like any good standard, there's many definitions of it. This is a definition that I quite like, actually. I think it's a good one. Happens to be from one of our product managers in Microsoft, but DevOps is the union of people, process and products to enable continuous delivery of value to our end users. So I think there's some good stuff in there. And I just wanted to really refer back to that. So the first part, it's not just tools. So we're going to talk to you about tools. I work in the dev tools bit, so I always end up talking about tools. But we do acknowledge that DevOps is more than just adopting some software and using some tools. However, what we want to look at is there are practices, and we'll come on to this in a minute, that are supported by tools. So how can we help you to achieve DevOps by using tooling? The other part that I think is key there is the continuous delivery of value. So this is not, how do we move from we're sitting on value, but we haven't actually got it out to somebody. So
is there no return on investment until you've actually delivered that to your customers and they've given you feedback and you've got it in your hands?
You're just sitting on potential value, really, aren't you? So let's go and have a look at that. So I think really my last slide, really, but these are a series of habits that actually have been developed within Microsoft as we move towards DevOps. So I'm not going to go through all of these and everything on the screen, but these are some of the habits that drive good DevOps sort of approaches and flow, and there are practices that support those. And so some of the key ones, and the ones that I want to concentrate on initially, are really around the basics of things like continuous integration, continuous delivery, continuous deployment, and I'll maybe, we'll talk in between us probably, we'll cover off continuous testing to some extent as well. So there's a number of practices that we want to show you. And to that end, really, I'm just going to quickly show you some demos, some very simple ones. I'm going to use Visual Studio Team Services because that's sitting in the cloud and I don't need to install it and get it set up. But everything that I'm showing you is also available in Team Foundation Server on-premise. So you can use whichever. All those capabilities are there, but I'm going to choose to use Team Services. So let's go and have a little look. So I'm going to switch into this guy. And this is my Team Services account. Not necessarily very relevant for this. Let's just zoom in a bit. This is just a demo application, and this is one of the dashboards that I've built up for this app. I've built in a little QA dashboard.
I don't recognise your little product vision there. Is that a little add-in?
It is. It's one of the extensions from the marketplace. Yeah, absolutely. So it's just something I was playing around with. I try and keep an eye on the marketplace, see what's in there.
Stuff in there.
I saw that one sort of play around with it. We've got some other dashboards around QA. I put one in. I think we'll see another one later around build and release. What I wanted to look at was let's in this example, actually, if we go into source code, I've just got a very simple demo application, which is an ASP.NET web app. So just a simple example.
And I notice you're using Git there rather than TFS.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so you get unlimited private Git repos with Team Services. It is just Git. It's not a Microsoft proprietary version. We've just incorporated Git into Team Services and TFS. So absolutely, I happen to be using Git. If you're using Team Foundation version control, that's fine as well. But what I want to do is look at builds and how can we create continuous integration for this. So
they're all passing, that's good.
Yeah, they're all passing, so these are some in there, but let's go and create one. So what I'm going to do is just hit new, And the first thing you'll see that comes up is I can choose between a variety of build templates. So you don't have to choose one. You can start off with an empty one and build it up step by step.
There's a lot of non-Microsoft technology.
You're absolutely right, yeah. So it's one of the things that probably hit you first of all is that, there's a load of Android, I want to do Java Ant-based builds, or a bit lower down, there's Java Gradle or Maven Java kind of build. So the key thing here is we really want team services or TFS, and particularly in the context of DevOps, we want it to support any kind of app and any developer. So this is not just for .NET developers necessarily. Don't think that. And you'll see that there are a variety in here. I won't go through them all. There are Xamarin builds, and we'll come back to these. So I'm not going to steal Richard's thunder. But the one I'm going to use here, because I've just got a straightforward ASP.NET app, is I'm going to choose the Visual Studio template. So I'm going to choose that one, and it's saying, where do I want to get the source code? I want to get it from inside this project, but these options here are saying that I could go to an external repository. So for example, an external Subversion repository. And then within this, which repo, which branch do I want to use, etc. Do I want this to be continuous integration? In this case I do. And I'll come back to this, but what agent am I going to use? And so I'll explain what's going on there in a second. This, from the template, says, okay, here are the standard tasks, and what we've got here is just a standard web-based UI where I can see that we're going through a flow of go and restore NuGet, go and build the solution, if there are any unit tests, run them, and then basically go and publish, debug, and assemblies out, copy those into a certain location, and create the drop folder, so the output of the build. And what I want to do here is let's just save this straight away. We'll call this our TechDays online build. Okay, that. And I'm just going to queue this up because I wanted to show you how simple it is to get going. And I'm going to say, okay, let's go and run this. And what I'm doing here is I'm using one of our hosted agents. So the build agent, the build machine that I'm using is actually running in Azure. So I haven't had to install an agent anywhere. I don't have a build machine that I'm using for this. And so we're just getting one from the pool of those that are available out in the cloud, really. So.
What are some of the reasons you might want to choose hosted or on-premise?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And you can use a mix, so you're not stuck with one or the other. Good reasons for using the hosted builds, and this is also true for the release we come on to in a minute, is I don't have to have a machine. So I don't have to have the infrastructure, I don't need to build it. In this case, I've created a build, and I don't need to spend time preparing a build machine. So that's great. There are some disadvantages. So those disadvantages, probably the main ones that I'd point out would be you're living with a build machine that we're providing the image for. So if you need other software on it, or it needs to have different hardware or configuration, then the standard build machine that we provide in the cloud might not be suitable. So that's probably a big one.
Can I get a list of the software that's on?
You absolutely can. So yeah, if you have a look, you'll find it in MSDN, and we can also dig around in things like team services, and that actually shows the capabilities. So yeah, and it's not, so again, it's actually got things like JDKs and Android SDKs. It's not just, and Xamarin. It's not just Visual Studio and PowerShell kind of thing, but there are reasons why you choose not to. There are some other reasons around there are limits on the length of the build you can have inside the hosted machines, queues and that kind of thing. But again, there's a good MSDN article that goes through that. So what we're seeing here is the build is taking place on the build machine. We missed the first couple of steps, but we've done the NuGet restore. It's doing the build. It's now published. So it's basically done everything, and it's pushing everything out into the drop folder. We use SignalR to bring back effectively real time, because we all like to sit and watch builds. I think so. So if you like doing that, you can go and watch your builds. Exactly. So here we are. We got a successful build, and at the end of that, I can come in and look at the results. I won't go through these, but my associated sort of test results, work items, etc. Now, if I go back in, just very quickly. Obviously I didn't edit this, but key things are how are we going to trigger this. I can choose whether it's continuous integration and or scheduled, and I can play around with those. And if we go back into the build itself, you can reorder, you can add in additional tasks, and we've got a library of tasks that you can choose from. So there are a load of build tasks that you can choose.
If I wanted to run some PowerShell as part of that?
Absolutely, so that's a good point. So this utility area, essentially anything you can script. So PowerShell, if you're on a Unix platform, shell script. If you want batch script, command line, as long as you can script it, you can include it in your build. So add those in. And there are other capabilities as well.
Now this looks a bit different to if people are coming from 2013, 2012 TFS. this looks a bit different. How do I get this stuff?
Yeah, so this is brand new. It's in TFS 2015 and Team Services. It's completely redesigned to be much easier to use, extensible, open, and cross-platform, the other key thing, out of the box. However, if you've got existing build definitions, the Windows Workflow XAML, they still work. So they're still supported, but consider them deprecated. So treat them from that way. So okay, so that's kind of continuous integration. So very quickly, I want to then look at, that's fine, we'll leave that, is I want to look at the release. So the build should be focused on, I'm successfully creating the output and running build verification tests. So what else can we do? Well, in the interest of time, just noticed I'm running a bit short, let's go in here, is what I've set up here in a very similar way, is you can come in and say, here we are, you can tell we're live, some announcements. So I've got a series of environments. In this case, I've kept it simple at dev, QA, and production. And then in each of those, this is what I want to take place. So what I'm saying here is I want to deploy this website to Azure. That's my default assumption. And in there, I'm using my MSDN subscription as it happens. I can choose the data center to deploy to. So maybe I want to deploy to one of the new UK data centers, for example. Absolutely. I've put a variable in for my web app name. The key thing is I'm saying go and get the stuff that the build produced, in this case the zip file, and that's linked to in these artifacts. So I'm going back to the build and then go and deploy that out into Azure. But again, in exactly the same way, there's a whole range of activities here. So you can choose from not only Azure related steps, but also maybe more on-premise stuff like Hyper-V and System Center, VMware deployment. And so the key thing here is not only can you don't just have to deploy, but you can also provision. And also if I go to my QA environment, you see you can also run things like tests as well. And we'll come back to that in another context shortly. So this is not just deploy the code, but maybe provision the environment, whether it's VMware, on-premise, in the cloud, whatever. Deploy the code out, run a level of testing, and then move on to the next environment. And the only other thing I'll just quickly point out here is that you can also do things like approvals. So what
People get pretty nervous about releasing into live, especially.
Quite right. I mean, who's going to do a direct deployment straight into production? It's quite rare for good reasons. So this is a way of saying I'll go through staged environments, and not only that, but the transition from one environment to another can be controlled. So what I've done here actually is I said we automatically deploy to dev, but when we get to QA, I want these people, probably the QA team, to say that actually I'll tell you when we get that. So maybe we're in the middle of a test suite, I'll choose to accept this next release when is appropriate for us. So basically you've got a combination of repeatability, the deployment including provisioning and testing, as well as governance through approvals. And again, in exactly the same way, you can just go and add in any of those tasks. You can extend those, you can write your own, and there's a marketplace for them as well.
So I have a separation concern there. The build is producing my binary, producing my output, and then I'm moving that through each of the different...
Yeah, and actually I think that's a really good point. It's you've only built it once in build, and then the same output is not rebuilt. You're saying go and take that and deploy it to each of these environments. So it's not a build for dev and a build for QA. And so it's a better way of working with that. So in the interest of time, I'm going to hand back to Mr. Owen to pick this story up. So hopefully that's the basics.
Yeah.
Just general sort of CI, CD, that kind of stuff that's in there.
Awesome.
And so back to you.
Move this across a little bit. Well, let's see if we can go the right way. So we'll change tack a little bit and look at some of the mobile development aspects of this. Now, anybody who's done any kind of mobile development will know there are some reasonably unique challenges to doing development that are different to doing web development or cloud development, something like that. And probably the key thing, the number one thing, is the device fragmentation. So I don't know how many phones you've got these days, but just two, okay. But different form factors, different screen resolutions, different operating systems, different versions of those operating systems. And so it can be very difficult to try your application and make sure it works correctly on the devices that your customers are using. Kind of on top of that, people expect more from the app. So again, how many times have you thought, well, I need an app to do something? Let's say a media player. I install something. You give it 30 seconds, a minute, before you decide it's not good, I'm uninstalling, I move on to the next. So you've got to have that first good impression. So people have very short sessions. They're diving into your app, they're driving out of it, they're uninstalling it if they're not getting that. Very high expectations.
So how are people doing that today, actually?
Well, this is the thing. A lot of that is done manually. So the QA will rummage through the desk, find his Android device, maybe his personal iPhone, maybe a Windows device, and they'll install their app. They'll run it and so on. And it can be very difficult. So again, you're pushing it out there, and then you're finding the problem. Your customers are coming to you and saying, "Hey, it's not working on my Samsung Galaxy, my OnePlus 3." And then those are the problems. We're getting those negative reviews, and they say people are very vocal on the stores, and as soon as you start getting those negative reviews, exactly, you're going to start dropping down. So, just switching on to this slide, I love this slide. And Microsoft acquired Hockey App, I think a couple of years ago now, but a lot of people still haven't really heard of it. In March this year, they acquired Xamarin, and so when you take all those three things together, Microsoft, Visual Studio Team Services, Hockey App, and Xamarin, Microsoft now have which I feel is probably the leading mobile DevOps solution. So end-to-end, they've got tools for everything. And this stuff is just getting better. I mean, it's just getting tighter, more integration. There's a lot of cool stuff coming down the line in this. So we take a quick look at this. We could spend the rest of the time that I need to keep an eye on talking about the Xamarin platform, why people should, again, maybe I don't have an Android developer, I don't have an Objective-C developer. I've got some C# devs kicking around, but how do I go and hire people? A lot of people will pick a hybrid app, they'll use something Cordova and they'll build a web-based app. Problem is it doesn't give the same experience that a native app does, and that's where Xamarin comes in, and I think there's some more sessions today talking a bit more about using Xamarin and also consuming some of the Azure services. If you look at things that as an app developer I typically have to do, I'm thinking about push notifications, authentication, storage, offline sync and so on. All those things can be provided to you through the Azure app services, and then I don't have to worry about that. I just deliver that value. I'm worried about the value, not the plumbing. And I think that's quite key.
Well, very quick question. So, if it sounds really interesting. How do I get hold of Xamarin? Where is that? Where do I get it?
Again, this is a great thing. If you're an MSDN developer, you've got Visual Studio. If you've done a standard install, it won't be on there. So go in, modify your install, make sure you choose the Xamarin mobile options in there and the emulators and so on. There's plenty of guidance on doing that. If you're on a Mac, as we happen to be today, then you can go and install Xamarin Studio. There is a community edition, which is free, but you can, if you're an MSDN subscriber, you now have access to Xamarin Studio. So go into your MSDN benefits, activate it, use your Xamarin University credits and so on. So well worth taking a look at. What I wanted to look at today was around this, Xamarin Test Cloud, Hockey App, VSTS integration. We'll also talk, probably not go on to Xamarin University, but it just came down in price this month actually, well worth taking a look at if you want to scale up on this stuff. I'll move on again in the interest of times. We'll take a look at the Xamarin Test Cloud. We talked about device proliferation, getting your app tested on the devices that your users are actually using. We want to drive that quality. Think about actually getting the quality, and again, these are all the DevOps processes that you talked about before, but driving that quality early on in the life cycle rather than, hey, we'll get an app into the store, we'll get some crashes and then we'll deal with it. Thinking about that stuff early on. So we want to try and deliver that value, focus on the things that our users are using and they're getting the value out and they're giving us the feedback on. We'll talk more about that in a second. Okay, let's take a quick look at Xamarin Test Cloud. We'll flip across here. If we can find the right screen, there we go. That's not the right one, have we lost it? There we go, we just had a random black screen in the middle there, okay, good. So this is Xamarin Test Cloud. Now you might be thinking, okay, well, you know, I'm going to start pushing my app out to, let's say, China, and I want to get loads of OnePlus devices, but we only have one of them that we can test on. I can just in Xamarin Test Cloud, these are nearly 2,500 devices that I can test my application on.
So to be clear, that's physical devices, not emulations or...
100%. So okay. These are physical devices that you will have your application deployed to, and they're not, there's nothing special about them. They're not rooted or anything like that. It'll deploy your application, drive your automated tests, and give you that immediate feedback. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, well, we need to make sure iOS 10 just came out. We need to make sure our app works correctly on that, on all the different form factors. So I might say, okay, well, let me try iOS 10. It's going to restrict down to the devices we have, and so we're looking at an iPad Air 2, an iPad Mini, I noticed in there, iPod Touch 6th generation. I mean, people just have a lot of iPods, but they don't have so many more. But you've got a lot of kids that's where they're accessing these apps from. So you've got to make sure that your application is going to work correctly on it. So I can flip by operating system, flip by form factor, obviously platform as well. So again, we're going to try and get a look at these devices running our application. If I flip into one here that's been running for a while, let's just. This is an app that we've integrated into Visual Studio Team Services. There's a nightly build running some tests.
Okay.
And so what we can see over time, whether our tests are passing or failing as we're doing the thing, so it could be a continuous integration build. We check in, we run some tests, we get that feedback. Now you don't want to do too much testing on that continuous integration build because you want it to be fast. Yeah. So we might do a nightly build that's going to run our tests on, I don't know, let's say 50 devices and get that feedback. If I dive in and take a look at one of these, this is a previous test run. What we're looking at here, and there's a couple of key metrics to look at. Total device time, 165 minutes. But that testing of 165 minutes on devices,
across all the devices.
Across all the devices, that's the time that your QA would have to be sitting there, typing on this stuff, nearly 3 hours. It's difficult to get, but that's been completed in 51 minutes. The other key things, 17 devices, 5 operating system versions, and I've got things like peak memory and so on.
So that runtime, so that's the true elapsed time. Yeah. So in terms of building that into an automated flow, that's the amount of time this testing will take in there.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And we'll just have that running as part of maybe our nightly build. If I look on the left-hand side, I can see my test. So let's say, let's try up the email address. And when I click on that, what it's showing me is the screenshots of all those devices at the same time, and I can just move through here as I look at my test and say, oh look, that's what each of my devices. If there's any problems, I can dive into the particular device. I can see the memory usage, the CPU usage at the various times as I go through the test. I've also got the device logs. If I want to get some of that raw data in there, I can go off and do it. Okay, so when there's the time, let's talk quickly a little bit about the next aspect of this. So we're running our tests, we're getting that information. We want to be moving to a continuous delivery practice. And this is the same for non-mobile development, of course. But if you think about mobile, how often does your phone update Twitter or Facebook or something like that overnight? You don't care. Yeah. But it means that problem that maybe somebody found, you're not even encountering because we're pushing it out there. And again, deliver that value. And some interesting stats there. So we talked about this kind of end-to-end life cycle. One of the DevOps practices again is using empirical data, taking that feedback from your users and saying, okay, how do we drive what we invest in? What features do we want to do? So the other aspect of this is Hockey App, and obviously the integration into VSTS. So we've written our application, we've tested it, and now what we want to do is push it out to our private users, our beta users, find out what they're using, find out what their problems are, find out what their feedback is. So what we can do is use Hockey App for this. Now, lots of people out there, let me flip into my Hockey App. So lots of people out there will be using things for beta distribution, test flight, maybe the Google Play alpha channel or something like that. But what I can do with Hockey App is look at across all my releases, all my platforms of my app. So if I've written a Xamarin app and I'm targeting iOS, Windows, and Android, I can see my same app across all those platforms. Now, I can also see how many people have downloaded my app. I can see if they're encountering any crashes. If they want to give me any voluntary feedback, again, they can do that. They can take screenshots, push it all back to me.
I like this, I don't like that.
Exactly. They can blot out any kind of identifiable data. And again, and the other thing I can see is, what are my users using? So are they downloading on an Android phone, an iPhone? And so I can make sure that when I move back to Test Cloud, those devices that I'm targeting correctly. Okay. It's just a matter of including the Hockey App SDK. If I'm getting crashes, I can see the versions, I can see the crashes that are happening, but I can also put in custom events. If you think about your app, you've got a number of menu options. What I can do is add in some custom events into my code, which will then notify Hockey app about what your users are using.
So I can particularly interested in a specific feature within the app, I can keep an eye on that.
Yeah, exactly. So are people using it?
Yeah.
Are they getting value from it? Are they exploring all the options on that? So I'm getting that feedback.
Okay.
So again, they can be giving me all things. And then one of the cool things about it is if you look here, the bug tracker, as that feedback comes in and those crashes come in, I can be pushing it straight back to VSTS, put it into my backlog, triage it, and decide whether or not we're going to work on that. So we're just getting that 360 feedback about our application. Hopefully, we have a few minutes left. I'll quickly show you just to dovetail in with what you were showing earlier. But of course, here's lots of builds running, lots of tests running. Oh yeah, we've got all of that. But I'm just going to flip into here, and I've got a build definition here. Now I'm just going to create a new build definition like you did before, but this time, what I'm going to do is choose, for instance, let's say a Xamarin Android app. So almost identical to what you chose before. So I'm choosing my hosted build, where it's coming from, my code, and so on. So you could point this at GitHub, pull your repo straight in from there. Some of the Xamarin.com/prebuilt. You get some good applications to learn this stuff with. So if I do that very quickly, there's a couple of key things in here. Number one, we've got NuGet Restore, we've got our building up our Android package. We're going to build up our test solution. So we can write our Xamarin UI test. And then this is the key one. It's grayed out in the minute, so we'd go in and we'd enable this. We go into our test cloud account, find that team API key, put in our details, put in the devices that we want to do. We can get very easy to get that from the website. And then once we build this, it's going to build our test, then submit it off to Test Cloud, run against the devices, and give us all that feedback directly. And exactly as the UI you saw before with unit tests, we're going to get for Test Cloud as well. And then the very last thing, in the about 2 minutes that I have left, is just pop into releases here. And exactly as you did before, what I like to do, if the wireless in the conference holds up for us, yeah, indeed. If I look at the new definition, so I'm going to do a new quick release definition here. And again, slightly jumpy that things aren't, there we go. Come on. Don't want to lose my time because the wireless is going slow on me. What I'm going to do here, if I get time, is choose a blank definition. Hurrah! Right, so there we go. Start with an empty definition. And then the key thing is, again, where is it coming from? We'll just use a previous build, and then we'll go and create that. What have I got in there? Oh no, I've got no builds. Choose later, quick, let's do this. Is it going to let me do that without a build? There we go. Right, perfect. And exactly the way you had before, we had our QA staging and so on. What we might have here is, this might be private beta. And we might then say, let's add an environment. So we'll create a new environment. We'll go into, let's do one more. Let's clone that. In the interest of time, there we go. And we'll call this one, let's say public beta. And we'll do another one, but we can make...
So can you sign up different groups of users within Hockey App, then? Is that the idea? So
exactly that. So we could do this, we could do it with different groups in Hockey App. But what I like to do is, in my private beta here, if you go to the marketplace, in fact I might even have it here quickly, marketplace.visualstudio.com, we've got Hockey App in here, so we can go and choose that, lots of good stuff in there. I'm going to add a task. We've got 1 minute to do this. We're going to throw in Hockey App. We can do this. So close it up there. We'll choose Hockey App. We'll click into that. We're going to give it the output of our APK or IPA. We will give it the symbols file path, and then we can say publish that to Hockey App. make it mandatory, so our users get a notification and say, hey, new version,
I've got a new version.
get it updated.
And this is different to publishing via the store, isn't
Exactly.
it? So,
This is almost like
yeah.
side-loading that app. Users, they can go to Hockey app site, they can install from there, they can install the Hockey app application on their Android
But
phones.
you can also deploy to store as well. So I'm just thinking
Perfect,
with the
yeah.
Flow you go through the beta processes and
That's
then
right.
eventually get
So
to the point
this-
where you say actually deploy it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So this
okay.
might be my
Yeah.
private beta. Then I might go to public beta, and I might add a task in there. We might go and look if I can get there. Might not have added in. Stick in the Play Store, point it at the alpha channel, push it out to wider users. Then go to release and push it out to the store, right? And then obviously add the approval process that you showed before.
Fantastic. Yeah. So that's what I like. I think is that mobile development and mobile DevOps doesn't have to be something special and different. Actually, it's essentially the same
part of
flows,
the
isn't it?
process.
So yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic.
Just a quick link there, if you want to check out some events in the UK, you can check out the Xamarin events on Twitter, and obviously the Visual Studio events. We've got some Visual Studio focused ones, DevOps focused.
Yeah, a lot of those are DevOps. So yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, fantastic.
Excellent.
Superb. Thank you very much. Hope that was useful. That's great.